sounds pretty clean. Let's go to the amp. Good low end on the amp. Compressions with that slower attack time, it gets initial pat, 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 pat. But we're going to combat these issues. So don't be afraid. This happens all the time on recordings, especially something like this, which was done quickly and the performance is more important. You know, these things happen all the time, particularly on bass guitars. I see these sharp transients because of slow attack times, and they're not grabbing it quick enough, and they're letting this kind of transient come through. Let's go to the DI. So I'm grabbing the infinite EQ here. And you see what I'm doing? I'm using it to low pass, meaning the low end is going through low pass. Another way of describing it, which is a lot easier for some people, is high cut. So I'm high cutting or low passing. Here's wow. It's very aggressive. The low end's pretty even, actually. Okay, now I'm going to take the amp, and I'm actually going to copy this EQ down. Now I'm going to do the reverse. So turn this off. Let's reverse it. There you go. So now it's actually reversed, meaning now I am high passing, meaning the high end is going through, or low cutting. In that similar area, about 200 here, but all of that's being removed. So if we listen to the amp only, put the two together. Now, just for schnitz and schniggles, I'm going to turn them both off. Let's give it a listen. Put them both on. Let's bring up the DI. So rebalancing it. So now the DI is louder, and I brought down the mic. Mute them. Both back on. What I was showing you there was actually there is more low end when you've only got one source. The thing about having multiple sources on kick drums and bass guitars is low frequencies have these like huge waveforms, like these massive waveforms. The reality is when you get multiple sources of the same thing, like we were doing earlier with the kick drums and here with the bass guitar, is that these waveforms can get slightly out of a line with each other, especially when there's multiple sources. So 2 is bad, 3 or 4 gets crazy. So if you pick one source, the DI, and have that be the only source of low end, what will happen is you won't get any phase cancellation between a mic, a DI, maybe, distortion, 2 different mics or whatever. All of these things can cause all kinds of phase/polarity issues. So what we've done here is we've made it only the DI, and now we have a much more focused, rounder low end. So just with that EQ, see what that sounds like with the EQ and the drums. We'll turn on our all drums group. It's interesting now with the bass in, I hear some stuff I want to do to the snare. At the moment, we've got a kind of slappy, almost SSL spankiness on the snare, but I want to hear a bit more body. I'm aware of that. I'm thinking the snare sound needs to be better. I'm also hearing that it'd be really nice to have some room on those toms. The moment the toms sound really dry. This is what mixing's all about. It's not necessarily trying to solve every problem at once, just being aware. So I like the bass sound, and we've barely done anything except for those 2 EQ tricks. It's really simple as that. But what we're going to do now is we're going to bus those 2 elements to 1. So we'll pick bus 9, and we'll create a mono auxiliary. You don't need a stereo one here for the bass source. Make that input 9. So now what we can do is we can EQ and compress the 2 elements together. And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the same EQ, which, to be honest, we could just drag and drop from there. And the first thing I'm going to do is get, let's say, about 50 or 60 where the kick drum fundamental low end is living, around about here, and high pass that, so low cut it. We can maybe make it a bit more gentle, the slope. Now, do you remember on the kick drum, we were cutting that 80 to 100 area because we wanted the room for the bass to live. So we're going to start another EQ at about the 80 to 100 area. And we'll do like a little boost there. Let's bring the drums. For me, 750 is a great area for bass guitar. So let's go in there. Also, 3K. Really want to hear that reverb on the toms. You hear what I'm saying there? It's super dry. So there's not a lot happening there on the bass guitar. So let's get the amp, solo that, because on the group there's not much going on there. So let's actually bring it up on the amp side. There's a little bit more for it to feed off of. Now it's a bit more exciting to me. Got a bit of the grit coming in. Now, you don't need anything really that super high, so we can swap that for a low pass. About 7K and above. We don't need anything above that on the bass. But that little extra bite that we just added, now, I like the bass tone at the moment. I could get grittier. I feel like we could take one of those elements, maybe the amp, duplicate it, and put a ton of saturation on it. So again, that's something I might do. I'm being mindful. At the moment, I've got like a good, round, solid bass tone. Depending on what the guitars do and the keys as they're brought in, I might want to brighten it. I might want to make it a little bit grittier, put some distortion on there so something can be grabbed hold of. Because at the moment, there's not a lot. When you saw me boost quite dramatically on the high end of the amp, there's not a lot going on there. So I might distort that. Again, I'm putting this in the memory banks because I'm still yet to add some other things to it. Hi everyone, I hope you're doing marvelously well. I have a course using only Slate plugins. If you remember a few years ago, they had the Slate Challenge. Well, I took it upon myself few years later to do the Slate Challenge myself, and I mixed a Little Empire song, which is a band with a girl singer, with synths, with programming, with guitars and bass and keyboards and all kinds of fun stuff, live drums, and I mixed a song using only Slate plugins. The great thing about this course is you'll watch me in real time do it, changing my mind, trying new ideas, and eventually getting a mix that I'm happy with. Something that you can relate to because you'll understand the why, not just the how, but why did I choose something? That's something I'm always get asked. That's the great thing about watching in real time. So check out the course. There's a link down below. Thanks everybody. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, adios, goodbye. You know, as I was saying earlier about the bass, it sounds a little polite. I mean, this is an indie rock band. We need some craziness on here. Let's listen to this bass amp. It's DI. It's got the EQ on it. Okay, so let's just duplicate the bass amp. We can leave the EQ on it because all it's frankly doing is boosting some high mids and getting rid of the low lows, which is actually what we needed to do. And let's go and grab the Faturator. Oh yeah. I'm bringing the color up here because it's getting rid of some of that excessive low end. Sounds like too much, but is it going to be too much when the drums and the guitars are in there? Let's see. Listen to the bass. Exaggerate that low end a little bit more on the DI there. I almost feel like with this bass tone, whatever I'm doing, I'm not hearing the high end that I want. So for just snits and schniggles, just go to the rather fun Fresh Air plugin, which I believe was free, wasn't it? They gave it out. It's a problem when you don't have much there to begin with, but quite dramatic on there. hugely dramatic on that. Let's bring that down. Back to the Faturator. Bit more drive, less fuzz. Yep. Cool. So you see how, like, all the decisions I'm making are affected by other things. Now I'm digging my bass sound. The snare has got more body back in it because I put that ring back in that now you don't even notice because there's so much stuff going on in the mix. Again, the dangers of working in solo. But, you know, it's hard to teach when you're not in solo. Much better.